Coming to you from the Deep South, this is the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. High-impact leadership is not reserved for leaders, and it has nothing to do with your position, title, or rank. However, it does have everything to do with your character. It's time to climb to the next level and beyond, personally and professionally. Now, let's start making it happen with your host, Max Story.
Hello, and thanks for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast today. So today we're on chapter 22, the fourth step at work. This episode is episode 456 and it's titled Developing Yourself Prepares You to Develop Others. So again, we're on chapter 22, the fourth step at work, as I continue this series on the ladder of influence, 5 steps for climbing to the next level and beyond. All right, so let's talk about the commitment to developing others at work, what that means, what that looks like, some tips from Rhea, from Rhea's book, The Ladder of Influence, and mixed with some of my own thoughts, but she's got a great coaching model that she shares in the book based on the acronym PATH, P-A-T-H. So we don't have a checklist like usual with this fourth step at work, but we got something to talk about that's equally as important, equally as good. Not a checklist, but it's more about how to help you coach people at work. And again, you could take this coaching model and apply it at home too. But here we're focusing on thoughts and how to do it at work. So Rhea says climbing to the fourth step at work is about helping others develop and think for themselves at a higher level. It's about asking questions, and obviously asking questions is a great way to do this. Same way at home. You can ask questions. You can also do it at work. But when we're talking about a commitment to developing others, it's to help others develop their own solutions. And to help others develop their own solutions, you must not be attached to the answers. And that's where managers of people, they want to give people the answers. They want to go fast. They know how they want it done or whatever, and they just want to give. Managers of people just want to tell people what to do. They don't want to connect with people. They want to direct the people. So when you're asking questions, you're helping others develop their own solutions. But here, remember, we're talking about growth. How can you, as a person of influence, help other people at work grow and develop in themselves? Rhea says at this step, you begin to realize it's not about you. But you also understand it absolutely started with you. Meaning you had to develop yourself and grow yourself to be at this level where you understand it's not about you. Like me trying to help you grow. It ain't about me. It's about you. But it started with me. I had to grow and develop myself to position myself to be in a position to help you grow and accomplish your mission. Not my mission. You may not have any interest in what I want for you. Zero. That's why I ain't trying to get you to do what I want you to do. And it's a challenge for me when I go into companies and I talk about leadership, high impact leadership. And especially when I don't have a lot of time to be there, but they want me to talk about what leadership looks like. And I start talking about trying to grow and develop people to help them live the life that they want to live. Bosses and managers of people, they don't want that kind of talk. They ain't ready for that kind of talk. But a lot of times that's what they ask me to talk about, but they don't know what they want me to talk about. They want me to talk about leadership. Until I start talking about leadership, they don't realize they don't know a whole lot about leadership sometimes. There's a lot of bosses, they absolutely don't want to grow and develop someone to leave their company. That goes against everything that they thinking about in the moment. They trying to figure out how we keep people here. That's not growth. That's suppression. Unless the person wants to stay there and grow in the company. But if you're a growing type of leader, if you're growing, your organization's growing, you're creating opportunity within your company, a lot of people won't leave. The point is, it doesn't matter if they want to leave or they want to stay. It ain't got nothing to do with you if you're a high impact leader. High impact leaders are growing and developing people. I can tell you this, if you're working in my company, you don't want to be here. Why in the world would I want you to be here? That always blows my mind. Managers of people want to try to keep people in their company that might want to leave. The reason is those leaders purely just want to use those people to accomplish their own mission. They're not focused on the person's mission. Because a high impact leader, if they've helped you grow and you decide to leave, well, they want to see you go. They're going to help you grow, and they're going to be happy when you go. They may be sad because they lost you as a team member, but they're going to be happy because you're growing, and that's their intent, is to grow you. I just recently read a LinkedIn post from an operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant, and they had a picture of one of the young ladies who was working there, and she was sitting in a booth on her iPad, but she wasn't at work. She had done clocked out of work. The whole article was about, the post was about her being clocked out of work. She was actually doing homework for college, and the operator was talking about what her dream was and what she wanted to go do in life, and it didn't have anything to do with Chick-fil-A. But he was fired up and he was happy for her, and he's glad that he and his team are creating an environment for her to thrive. But while she's thriving and striving to get somewhere else, she's making it happen on that team because she feels valued. She feels like that operator and the other leaders value her. They want what's best for her, which is whatever she wants. So while she's working at this Chick-fil-A with intention of leaving that Chick-fil-A, she's a high impact team player. She feels valued. It was just a powerful post. I shared it on my profile because I know there's some people out there that needs to see it. Because one thing I hear out in the world is young folks don't want to work. I hear it all over the country. But guess what? They work just fine at Chick-fil-A. And that was a phenomenal example of why. And that's what I mentioned in that post when I shared it. Young folks seem to work just fine where they valued and they're developed because of who they are and where they want to go. That's an abundance mindset. Rhea says, avoid the temptation of trying to make others conform to your expectations. That's what a lot of managers of people do. Leaders with low influence. Their whole goal is to make others conform to their expectations. They're just using people to accomplish their own mission. Guess what kind of results they get by using people to accomplish their own mission? Not that good. And even if they think they're great, they're leaving a lot on the table and they don't even have a clue. So Rhea says, when helping others find their own solutions, she likes to use a simple coaching model that she created called PATH. I shared that with you earlier. That PATH acronym. And there's 4 questions, but then I'm going to break. Each question's got some sub questions in the book to help you think, but really to help you coach and mentor and lead, provoke thought, raise awareness, all that stuff I've been talking to you about last episode and this episode. So I'm going to read the 4 main questions. Then that's where the acronym comes from. There's a word in each one of these questions that starts with the letter related to PATH, PATH. So it's purpose, actuality, tracks, and highway. That's what the PATH stands for. But those words don't make a lot of sense till you know the question. So the first question is, what is the purpose? That's got the P in it, purpose. What is your current actuality? That gives you the A from PATH. What are the possible tracks you can choose from? Tracks gives you the T in PATH. Which highway will you take? And H gives you the H in PATH. Highway gives you the H. So let's break these down a little bit. So we're talking about helping other people find their own solution. So if you feel that they haven't arrived at the best solution, then you should start asking better questions. But don't start giving them directions and telling them what to do. The moment you begin giving unsolicited advice, Rhea says, is the moment you begin to force a solution and create distrust. Instead, keep asking questions until they develop a solution. So now let's assume you're at work, you're interacting with a team member, especially if it's someone that reports to you, but it may not be someone that reports to you, but it very well could be. And we're talking about what's the purpose. So what's the purpose of our conversation is a question. They may not really know. They just may know they want to talk to you, but they ain't really thought about why. So you may have to ask some questions. You know, what's the purpose of our conversation? Why are we here? Why are we having this discussion? Not in a rude, mean kind of way, like you busy and ain't got time to talk. That ain't gonna work. Like I really want to understand what the point of this conversation is. And I got time to listen, and I want to listen. What problem are you trying to solve? What place are you trying to reach? And each one of these questions may lead to some questions within that question to help get that answer out. What issue are you struggling with? What's the root cause of this issue? Why is this a challenge? Right? You're just asking lots of questions, trying to get the person thinking at a deeper level. Because remember, you're trying to help them find their own solution, which means you don't need to give them an answer. You need to ask them questions. That's what coaching is about. Mentoring is telling someone, you know, what you would do in this situation, or what you have done in this situation, or what you've seen others do in this situation. So teaching is just passing knowledge to you. Mentoring is me sharing my experiences with you. Coaching is me helping you find your answer from within. A lot of people don't do a lot of coaching, but that's what this section of Ria's book is about, helping you learn how to actually coach in the way that I just defined it. And she defines it here in the book. Coaching in this context is helping other people find their own solution to whatever their challenge is. Not your solution. Your solution may not be their answer. Definitely might be your answer if you were in their situation, but guess what? You're not in their situation. You don't know everything that's in their mind. You don't know every experience they've ever had. You don't know everything they're dealing with in this moment. You don't know where they want to go and why they want to go in life. You don't know all that stuff. It don't matter how close you are to them. You don't know all the stuff. That's why if you truly want to help other people grow and develop, you help them find their answer from within. If you've got a great relationship at some point, they may want your mentoring. Like this podcast, there's a lot of mentoring in here. There's a lot of teaching. Not a lot of coaching. I do ask some questions to try to provoke some thought, but we're not talking one-on-one. I'm not sitting in a room with you. And if you're choosing to listen, you're probably listening with intent to get some teaching and to get some mentoring. And that's what this podcast is about. But if you're one-on-one with folks talking about some serious stuff and you value those people, you want to build a lot of trust, you help them find their own answers from within. And there's all kind of programs, books, and all that on professional coaching. You might want to become a professional coach. The cool thing about it is you don't have to have the answer. You're not there to be a tour guide. You're not taking someone someplace. In a way, if you've been there, you can ask better questions, but you don't know where they want to go. You have no idea where they want to go. So being a tour guide or a travel agent is not helpful. You don't know where they want to go. You want to ask the right questions at the right time, in the right way, for the right reason, all that sort of stuff. So you could be you could be an entry-level person who could coach an executive. Or you could coach someone in a completely different field than you're in, because your whole point is to ask questions. They got to be good questions. But again, there's tons of books about coaching. All kind of models and platforms and certifications you can get, all kind of things. Maybe something you're interested in. If it is, guess what you need to do? You need to start reading books on that. You need to become proactive. And you need to start watching YouTube videos or sign up for people's courses. You need to start doing research, is what I'm saying. Start learning about it. And then start practicing where you work and where you live. All right, let's talk about the A. And that question again for letter A. What is your current actuality? That's where the A comes from, the word actuality. Some of the questions here related to that. How far are you away from where you want to be? You know, as I'm reading these, I don't know what you're going through in life. You may want to get this book, coach yourself through this section, help yourself by reading these questions. That's how you can coach yourself through books. But you can also just listen. I'm reading them to you right now. You could hit pause and think about it. Or if you're at home, you can hit pause and take some notes, write down some thoughts. Go through all this list of questions I'm talking about. See what's on your mind. But how far are you away from where you want to be? What are the roadblocks you're facing? What is happening right now in your life and why? And we're talking about, in this context of this chapter, is that, you know, someone at work that you're trying to develop and you're having that conversation, a coaching conversation with them. What is preventing you from taking action? Why? You know, when I'm talking to people, I reword that question right there in a different way. They may say something they want to do, and I say, what's stopping you? And usually that silence that we talked about in the last chapter comes into play. Usually there's silence, and you got to let them think through it. A lot of time people don't know what's stopping them. Most of the time, that question Rhea just says, what is preventing you from taking action? That's what's stopping most people. They're not taking action. So then what's stopping you from taking action? Whatever they come up with, the next question is why? Why is that stopping you? Another question Rhea asked, what does success look like for you? These are some really, really good questions she has in this book. Very, very thought-provoking. If you slow down, hit pause, take the time to think about this stuff, and then become proactive about getting the answers and then implementing. She also says, what kind of resources do you have right now? Another question, the last one for this, for the letter A in the PATH model. Who can help you? Who can help you? Maybe somebody you know, maybe somebody you don't know. Maybe somebody you need to pay, maybe somebody who you don't need to pay. Maybe a book you need to buy, somebody that wrote a book about it. Might be a free YouTube channel you need to start watching. There's tremendous support for almost anything by people who really, really know and are really passionate about things on YouTube. They usually got hundreds of videos, hundreds of hours of free content. And usually, if you listen to them, they're going to point you in the direction of some other people, directly or indirectly. Let's talk about the T in PATH, in the PATH model. Rhea's question here are, what are the possible tracks you can choose from? T being tracks. What else can you do? I'm reading you some questions from our list. What would happen if you did this? What are the options on this path? You notice these are not yes or no answers. That's what good coaching questions are not. They need a lot more than a yes or no answers. They require thought. That's why, as a formal authority leader of other people, to be a good coach of those people, you got to be able to listen well. And we talked about some of that last chapter, because you got to give people silence. When you ask these kind of questions, you got to give them time to answer. So what are the options on this path? What are the potential benefits? What are the possible negative outcomes? What would stop you? What can you do to make success more likely? Who else might this impact? What other choices do you have? Right? We're talking about options now. A lot of times when you ask these questions, people don't have one option. As soon as they get one option, they think that's the answer. That may not be the answer. There's other choices. There's other options. Keep digging for a better answer or better options. If your life, another question from Rhea, if your life depended on action, what would you do? Let's talk about letter H in the path model. The question, which highway will you take? Highways being with the letter H. Here's some questions she asked. What's the best option? It's time to act. Which course will you choose? What steps do you need to take right now? What's the next step you need to take after that? What's your overall action plan? When will you complete it? And the last question here in the book, under the H in the path model, which highway will you take? The last question, are you fully committed to this course of action? And she's got in parentheses, if not, then find another highway to travel. If you ain't committed to that course of action, guess what? It ain't going to happen. You're just wasting time. Spinning your wheels. Got a question. I got a quote to wrap up today's episode. It's from Rhea's book, and it's by Carol Dweck. She says, above all, a good teacher is one who continues to learn along with the students. You're going to learn a lot by asking questions. You're going to become a better leader by asking more questions. But even when you ain't asking questions, you got to be growing and developing yourself. Because if you want to help other people develop, remember the title of this episode, Developing Yourself prepares you to develop others. So keep climbing. Talk to you next time.
Make it happen or someone else will. It might as well be you. Are you serious about taking your career and your life to the next level and beyond? Check out Mac Story's Blue Collar Leadership series books and others, now available on audio, along with paperback and ebooks at Amazon and Audible. Please visit bluecollarleadership.com to learn about Mac's books, programs, special offers, and more. Thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast.